Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today we are going to be talking about the Day 2 preview season of Dominaria, the newest Magic the Gathering set. This is for March 26th. This is Monday. We got some cards that were released over the weekend, as well as a couple that were released today. We'll talk about those. And then we also have some of the Planewalker deck cards that are coming out as well. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. First up, we have one of the cards that was released over the weekend, Merfolk Trickster. It's two blue for a 2/2 wizard Merfolk. It's got flash, and it says when it enters the battlefield, tap target creature and opponent controls. It loses all abilities until end of turn. Fantastic card, great in Merfolk. I'm actually kind of curious to see if this sees legacy play or not legacy, modern play in the Merfolk deck. Only because it has flash, it's going to be able to diminish some of those larger creatures, some of those combo pieces and things like that. With the flash ability, a 2/2 for 2 really isn't too shabby at all. In standard, it's going to get rid of a lot of creatures that really kind of get in the way, like the Hazarets and things like that. And I think we're going to see some standard play against like legendary creatures as well. It's a wizard on top of that, which kind of rolls right into our next two cards that were released today, Wizard's Retort and Wizard's Lightning. These are callbacks to some of the most powerful spells in Magic. So the Wizard's Retort is one generic, 2 blue instant. This spell would cost 1 less if you control a wizard, and it simply says counter target spell. It's an uncommon, so in draft you're not going to see a lot of these. But if you can build a wizard deck, this is going to be right up your alley. If not, it's just a straight up cancel, and there's nothing wrong with that. So standard, possibly getting a counter spell reprint. This is fantastic. Building a deck, with wizards at the forefront, even a blue-red deck. There's plenty of cards to choose from. The ability to have between 10 and 12 wizards in your deck to make this a counterspell proper isn't going to be that far-fetched. So I'm looking forward to seeing, blue-green wizard. This will definitely go into like a Merfolk deck because there's so many Merfolk wizards, but also the upgraded Dominaria release will definitely put some more wizards into the standard rotation. So looking forward to that. Wizard's Lightning, on the other hand, is a lightning bolt reprint. I guess you could call it. It's 2 generic, 1 red instant. This spell would cost 2 less to cast if you control a wizard, so costing effectively 1 red. Wizard's Lightning deals 3 damage to any target. So there again, we have some new phrasing. There's no longer target creature, player, Planeswalker. If it targets all 3 of those, it will have any target. But again, the wizard theme is very strong. Apparently this is going to be a cycle of cards, and these are the first 2 that we've got, and I'm really enjoying these. I'm hoping that we get like a tutor, like a demonic tutor. That would be fantastic in black. I'm really looking forward to that. It'd be interesting. I don't think giant growth is really a thing. I mean, we've had giant growth in standard before, and I don't think it's too powerful. One green, 1 generic for giant growth. I don't know. We'll see. We will see. Next up, we have some more of our sagas. This is a playset, or playset. This is a 3 set of common, rare, or uncommon, rare, and mythic rare. We've got Triumph of Garrod. It's 1 generic, 1 white, and it's got 2 of the same abilities for the first 2 parts of it. So when it enters the battlefield, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control with the greatest power. And then when after you draw your next card, at the beginning of your main phase next turn, you'll do the exact same thing. And then the beginning of your main phase the following turn, target creature you control with the greatest power gains flying, first strike, lifelink until end of turn. This is very ho-hum. I mean, it's uncommon for a reason. The the major drawback is in the first two abilities, where you can't really target what creature you want to put it on. You just have to hope that the largest creature is the one that you want to go with. I think, giving this ability to kind of, especially in draft and sealed, being able to space out your counters, it makes it difficult for your opponent to react to your army. Versus, okay, you put two counters on the thing. Now I'm gonna Doomblade it, or whatever the Doomblade is. And then you don't even get you get the third ability, but obviously it's not on the creature with the greatest power or toughness, so then it's really not worth it at that point. So this is going to be, a very last card if you need it. It's definitely not a go wide kind of strategy. It's really kind of like put a creature down, protect it type of thing. So I don't know. We'll see. Next up we have History of I'm gonna butcher this. Benella. It's 2 white, 1 generic Saga. This is the mythic rare. The first two abilities are the same, so you play this, and then you immediately get to create a 2/2 white knight creature token with vigilance, and then your next turn, after you draw your card for the turn and go into your first main phase, you'll do the exact same thing. And then your next main phase, in the following turn, your third turn, or I guess it would be the second turn after you play this, knights you control get +2/+1 until end of turn. So those knight creatures you just created are now 4/3s if they're still around. Again, not too shabby. Being a 2/2 with vigilance isn't the greatest thing for 3 mana, but 2 of them for 3 is actually pretty good. You just have to be able to protect your board, essentially. And then what you're basically hoping to do is play this on turn 3, and then turn 4 play some other knight, or keep your protection spell up, so that way you can, attack in for a few points of damage. I mean, obviously it's 8 damage, so that's pretty good. It's almost half their life total, so I guess it's on the good side. But you can use turns 4 and turns 5 to clear out the way. So this is just something that you could, your opponent sees coming. This is kind of like the issue between playing an instant spell versus a sorcery spell. Your opponent can see it coming, right? They can react to it. Whether it's an instant spell, it's a little bit harder because they have to keep mana up, and resources, you have to withhold resources so they're not playing things during their turn and stuff like that. This is the same issue with these cards. They're just slower enchantments. Next up we have the Fall of the Thran. This is one white, 5 generic for a rare enchantment saga. When you play it, you're going to destroy all lands, and then the turn after you play it, the main phase, you are going to allow each player to return 2 land cards from their graveyard to the battlefield. Now, I find this interesting that it says returns 2 land cards. It doesn't say up to, it says 2. So if they don't have 2, they don't get any? That's a legitimate question. I'm really curious. Because we have cards that remove cards from graveyards. I believe there's a saga that does that. So being able to put these triggers on the stack correctly, where you're removing all cards from all opponents' graveyards, and that doesn't include you, opponents, and then each player returns 2 land cards from there's a good chance, I believe that's the red one, there's a good chance that Boros can have some really mean land hate and graveyard destruction. So should be good, should be real good. But anyway, the second ability and the third ability are the same on the Fall of the Thran. So it's an interesting card. I don't think it'll see much play unless in those fringe decks where people are screwing with people's mana. Next up, we have our white legendary creature. This is the uncommon white knight. This is Dinara, the Klepsian Paragon. She is 1 white, 2 generic, 2/2, first strike, vigilance, lifelink, auras, and equipment you cast cost 1 less to cast. So she's kind of like a build around me card. the First Strike of Vigilance is a fantastic, and even Lifelink for that matter, in Draft and in Sealed is a great set of abilities. The fact that she comes down on turn 3, it's a 2/2 on turn 3, and you should be able to do things that are a little bit stronger in that slot as far as defense goes. But if you can protect her and you get to untap with her, oh boy. Turn 4, if you have 4 mana up and you've built around her properly, you can, there's auras and equipment that you'll be able to, kind of punch up her defense a little bit, possibly give her flying. If you can give her flying, then that's game over, right? And increase that toughness a little bit to kind of get her out of lightning bolt range, maybe. But in Sealed and Draft, this is going to be a huge card. In Standard, the Standard format, it would be interesting. There's a lot of humans going on in the white and red, so I'm kind of curious to see if there's going to be a Boros return. Definitely white spells for sure. Red for removal, or if they splash black, you might be able to get some good hand disruption in there as well. So we'll see. We will see. Next up, we have our Planeswalker deck cards. We have Teferi Timebender. This is 4 generic, 1 white, 1 blue for a Planeswalker that starts at 5 loyalty. You pay 2, or you up his loyalty 2 to untap up to 1 target artifact or creature. Then -3, you gain 2 life and draw 2 cards. -9, take an extra turn after this one. So what they're trying to get you to do is +2 twice and then -9. But if you'd like to keep Mr. Teferi around, going +2 3 times just to ensure that he stays on the board after you take your next turn. Remember, when you take your next turn, if you've got it on the battlefield, he's going to be at +4, right? So if you can protect him for 3 turns, you are in the gold. Next up, we have is it Namabi? Naimbi? Probably something like that. Faith Healer, it's 1 white, 1 blue, 1 generic for a 2/2. Basically, when she enters the battlefield, you may search your library and/or graveyard for a card named Teferi Timebender, so the card we just talked about. Reveal it, put it in your hand. If you searched your library this way, shuffle it. So this is just a way to kind of search up Teferi. And it's interesting because she costs 3, and normally with these types of cards, and I'm wondering if they got some feedback on this, normally the search ability is 1 less than the actual Planeswalker spell. That way you can play it, search it, and then immediately play it the next turn. Having Teferi in your hand on turn 4 really doesn't do you any good. A 2/2 on turn 3 is... This could have stand to be a 2-drop 2/2, or maybe even a 2/3 for 3 mana. That would have been a little bit better, because then at least it could defend off a couple things in the early game. So I don't know. That's kind of my take on it. Next up is Teferi Sentinel. This is a 5 mana 2/6. As long as you control a Teferi Planeswalker, the Sentinel gets +4/+0. Now, the key difference here is the Faithful Healer requires you to have the Timebender. The Sentinel, on the other hand, is any Teferi Planeswalker. So if there are any Teferi Planeswalkers out there in Legacy and Standard or in Modern and things like that, obviously there's going to be probably another one in Standard outside of the Planeswalker deck that will trigger this ability or set this ability in motion. So it's gonna be a strong 6/6 for 5 mana if you can play your cards right. Next up, we have a couple more blue cards from the blue-white deck. We've got Temporal Machinations. There we go. Machinations. 1 white, 1 blue, 2 generic. Return target creature to its owner's hand. If you control an artifact, draw a card. So at sorcery speed at common level. So again, it's kind of the artifact, the slight artifact matters card deck. There's some good white synergies with artifacts. Splashing blue for something like this could definitely be in your favor. Then lastly for this set, for this deck, We have the enters the battlefield tapped. Pay. You can tap it to add a white or blue mana to your mana pool. Figured I'd add that in there. Meandering River. So it's the white blue tap land. So all right. So now we go into our red deck, which seems to be red green because it's got the red green tap land in there, but we'll get to that. So Chandra, Bold Pyromancers, 2 red, 4 generic, 5 loyalty Planeswalker, +1 her to add 2 red to your mana pool. Chandra, Bold Pyromancer deals 2 damage to target player. It's only player, so no Planeswalker, no creature, none of that stuff. -3, she deals 3 damage to target creature or Planeswalker, so there's the other half of that. And then you can -7 her to deal 10 damage to target player and each creature and Planeswalker that they control. So it's a massive board wipe. This is not going to be like Teferi at any stretch of the imagination. Go ahead and +1 this twice, and then on the third turn, go ahead and -7 and clear the board. Get your knock half of your opponents down. If they're not dead after that 10 damage, then you're doing something wrong. Because this is turn 6, and yikes. Even +1ing, because you're looking at +1 twice, so that's going to deal them 4 damage, and then you're looking at 10 damage on the kickback, so it's 14. So somewhere between turns 1 and 5, you have to deal 6 damage in a red deck. And believe it or not, here you go, Chandra's Outburst. So this is kind of what I was talking about with the Planeswalker card. Kind of the spell leads you into the actual Planeswalker card. So Chandra's Outburst is 3 generic, 2 red, so 1 less than the Planeswalker. Sorcery, rare. Deals 4 damage to target player or Planeswalker. So there's 4 of your 6 damage on turn 4 or turn 5. And it also allows you to search your library or graveyard for a card named Chandra, Bold Pyromancer. Reveal it, put it into your hand, and then if you searched your library, shuffle it. So this is if you have these 2 cards, on turn 5 you're going to deal 4 damage to them, and then on turn 6 you're going to deal 2 more, and then turn 7 you're going to deal 2 more, and then turn 8 you're going to deal 10. So in this instance you have turns 1, 2, 3, 4 to deal 2 damage. Somewhere in there you have to deal 2 damage. I find it funny. I'm sorry. I'm laughing because it's hilarious on how narrow-minded this is. There is literally connect the dots, right? So let's see here. So we've got Compulsion Hound, which is 1 red, 3 generic, 3/3. When it attacks, if you control Chandra Planeswalker, if you control a Chandra Planeswalker, this creature deals 2 damage to any target. So literally right here in the making, this single page right here, you have enough damage to outright kill your opponent. It's like step 1, step 2, and step 3 in reverse order. So it's a fun card. Again, key phrasing here: the Outburst does not let you search for any Chandra, but the Hound doesn't care what Chandra you're playing with. So 4 mana for a 3/3 isn't the worst deal, but when it attacks, it dealing that 2 extra damage. And it's on the attack too. That's the important thing to remember. It's on the attack, so you can clear out a 2/2 chumper or a 1/1 chumper or something that has one toughness. You could even, this even would trade up in the instant that you can deal the 2 damage to something that has 5 toughness. Right, so if they have a 5/5 and you're like, well, I've got nothing, I can't do anything, so I'm gonna attack and I'm gonna deal the 2 damage to your 5/5, and then pass priority. Are you blocking my 3/3 with your now 5/3? So it just makes it's just an interesting concept, and it doesn't matter what Chandra you're playing with. So it's got viability in the other sets, other Planeswalkers. Okay, so then we got Pyromantic Pilgrim. It's a 3/1, 1 red, 2 generic human wizard with haste. And that's it. A little fragile on turn 3, especially for red. Not having the fire breathing or prowess or anything like that really is kind of rough. So this isn't going to be that good, I don't think. Not going to be a sought after card. So next up is Timber Gorge. This is the tap land for red and green. So not much to talk about there. All right, guys. Well, I really appreciate you watching. We got caught up here. Make sure you head over to our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/72DPI online for our Mana Drain podcast. We just recorded that, and it went on to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/72DPI online. Make sure you get subscribed and leave a comment. We'll be hitting every day with the new Magic cards that come out, that get spoiled or previewed, whatever you would like to call it. We're kind of giving our 2 cents and talking about the cards that we like and enjoy. And we'll go ahead and make sure when we finish with preview season that we'll go ahead and put up we always do a combat trick and things like that episode where we break down all the combat trick, kind of getting you guys prepared for the pre-release. We'll do that. We'll kind of maybe take another podcast or another episode and we'll look at maybe some drafting for archetypes as well as sealed archetypes. 2 very different formats, but similar in the sense that you're only drafting one set, which is going to be interesting. So looking forward to it. Make sure you leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, guys, and we will see you tomorrow. Have a great night.